I was pleasantly surprised when John walked into the sacristy and vested, and I thought, I didn't know that he had been a deacon candidate, so it's so nice because in past times John has assisted me at Mass here with a weekday or Sunday. I'm just wondering, when you walked into church, you got up this morning, what you were thinking about. You say, well, I'm going to Mass. What's my intention today? Maybe a friend of yours or someone you know is going to have serious surgery tomorrow, and he or she has asked you to pray for him. Maybe that's what you brought. Maybe after listening to the news, another earthquake in Mexico, and you're thinking, how do the poor just get dumped on all the time? And you're thinking, maybe the people that are offering relief, and that they can recapture their lives again if that's possible. But what intention did you bring? Certainly, you're not going to pray that the Chiefs win today. You can take that outside after Mass, right? I mean, really, that's so minute compared to the troubles and ills of the world. I'll share with you what I brought. I brought our country and our intentions. We say that we're one nation under God. And I ask myself the question, do we really act like that? The Gospel, St. Paul tells us, live a life worthy of the gospel. And I see in our lives such diversity. I mean, it's okay in church, but it seems to be so different outside our world, outside of the church. When we think of peace and justice. And my concern is this terrible relationship we are present with the president of North Korea. And there's got to be a better way than this vitriolic language and these threats. This is not a game. I'm 76. I've lived a good, long life. But I'm thinking about these children here and what kind of world they're going to grow up in. And my question is, are we really one nation under God? Just compare the things that you've heard in the past few weeks, even this morning. What I heard is very disturbing, these threats. Is it just showmanship? It certainly isn't leadership. But just compare that to what we heard today. Seek the Lord while he may be found. Seek the Lord's ways. The God of justice, the God of peace. The God who sent his son Jesus. What did he say to us? Peace I leave with you, my peace is my gift to you. And he says too, my ways are not your ways and my thoughts are not your thoughts. Well, do we ever ask ourselves, what are God's thoughts? What are God's ways in this situation we find ourselves every day? And do we really try to seek the Lord? I mean, we don't come here with lots of answers. We come here with lots of questions, how the Lord can help us answer and solve some of the dilemmas we face ourselves every day. And in the gospel, or the second reading, as I said, St. Paul tells us, live a life worthy of the gospel. What does that mean? Live a life worthy of the gospel. I was hungry, you gave me to eat. I was a stranger, you welcomed me. Is that the gospel of our life? Are those the things we think about in relation to the daily decisions we have to make? There was a wonderful bishop who died fairly early. His name was Ken Untner. And he was the Bishop of Saginaw. He gave us a retreat in our diocese of Kent City, St. Joseph years ago before he passed. He lived out of his car. He lived and would go from rectory to rectory to be with his priest. And he made a kind of a dictum. He said, I'm going to ask you, in fact, I'm going to really insist, before you make any decision in your parish council, or diocesan council, ask yourself how this decision is going to affect the poor. And that puts us a whole new light in the way we discuss and what we talk about. Whether it's building a new church, whether it's adding on to our school, whatever it might be. But he says, consider the poor in all that you make a decision. And to me, that spoke about a person who lived a gospel worthy of the gospel. Today we have this very kind of unusual sense of justice. The kingdom of heaven is like a man who owns a vineyard. He goes out different times of the day and he hires people. I have that picture in my mind. My father and his brothers had a produce company in St. Joseph, Missouri. It was wholesale. Frank knows about that, Frank Sullivan. Anyway, there would be people waiting outside just to get hired. And if a truck of potatoes or whatever came in, we could hire the people so they could work. Now, in this situation, we have people come at different times, and the people who worked all day said, "Hey, you're not being very fair to us." Well, just think of this. They were hired at first in the morning. And probably they didn't have a regular job, but they knew that night they were going to make enough money to feed their family. They knew that. But the poor guys went at the 3 o'clock hour, the 5 o'clock hour. They worried all day, how are we going to feed my family tonight? And this is the Jesus of the gospel. This is the story of our lives, I think. That it isn't about the time we serve, it's the way we serve. And Jesus gives us a whole sense, a different direction of justice. And he says, are you envious because I'm generous? That's a great question. Are we envious because God is generous? And that plays out in many ways in our life. Whether it's someone who has a new car, new home, whatever it is, we forget what God has given us. And those people that went out in the first hour, the second hour, they forgot that they got a job that day. They just looked at what somebody else got. So there are many little innuendos and stories here, but just to think of your life today, tomorrow, this week. And the question that I have to ask myself, do I really live? Am I really worthy of the gospel, and do I live it as Jesus gave it to us?